and welcome to Newsmakers. I'm your host, Nancy Lewis. Today we're going to be talking about firearms legislation. We're shooting this in Kansas City, and I'm here with Missouri Representative Joe Don McGaugh. And we're going to talk about a couple of bills that you sponsored this past session. The first one says that somebody who's occupying private property under the authority of the property owner will be permitted to use deadly force in certain situations. This is something that was only allowed for the property owner.
Correct.
In the past. So tell me about this bill and why you feel strongly about it.
Basically in Missouri we've had the Castle Doctrine for several years now, and like you said, if you own the property or if you lease or rent the property, you can use deadly force if an intruder comes in to protect your family. And being the father of 2 young children, as I was looking at that statute, I thought, what about if I had a babysitter there? What if my family members were over babysitting my kids? Technically, under the law, they would not be able to use deadly force to protect my family members. So I thought this common sense addition to the Castle Doctrine law would allow me to give specific authority to an individual in my home to use deadly force.
So, so let's say I'm over at your house, I'm just hanging out.
Right.
So, but that would still apply to me. As long as I'm there and you say that it's okay for me to be there, then I would be able to use deadly force.
That is correct. I would have to give you specific authority to use deadly force to protect my property and my family.
Okay. So what happened to that bill?
It got to the Senate and it died on the last day of session. So we had good bipartisan support for the bill, and I plan on refiling next year, so hopefully we can get it across the finish line.
A lot of times it takes 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, sometimes, and I understand the opposition to the bill, and there was some opposition. There were some folks who maybe misunderstood our efforts and what we were trying to do. So next year will be a new opportunity to get that done.
So another bill that you sponsored would allow somebody who's lost the right to possess firearms to have his or her rights restored under certain circumstances.
Correct.
Okay, tell me, which people who've lost their rights are you talking about?
Well, first I want to say that in my belief, I think freedom starts with the right of self-defense. So folks who are basically convicted of a non-violent felony, because they're technically a felon under Missouri law, they lose the right to possess, ship, or possess firearms. So basically what my bill that I filed last year, and I plan to refile again, would allow them to go in front of a judge to have those rights restored. So the judge would have to say, this is a non-violent felon. According to the law, they no longer have the right to possess firearms, but and the law said, or the bill said, it had to be 3 years after they were convicted, they were no longer on probation, and they'd be given the right by the judge to possess firearms.
So if I went to prison for a drug felony, then I'd be able to get my gun back under what you're proposing. Correct.
They'd have to go in front of a judge, petition the court to have those rights restored. And it would not protect violent felons for violent felonies or sex offenders. Okay. So like you said, folks who have maybe a drug conviction, felony, forgery, those type of things that are technically a felony, but they're not a violent felon. It's no gun offenses. They would be able to exercise their right if the judge would decide that they could do that.
So this is something you'll be bringing back up again this year?
Yeah, I plan to. Last year I filed it somewhat late in session, and with the way the legislature works, if you don't get in front of the herd, so to speak, with all the bills that are filed, they kind of get lost in the shuffle. So.
All right, Joe Don, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks
Appreciate
for being
it.
here, and thank you for being here. We hope to see you next time on Newsmakers.